I'm pretty sure I've more or less figured out what's going on at this point. Celine is doing a refined, indirect, complex destiny swap attempt on me. She's doing this through a combination of the Capricorn, unrefined, indirect, complex destiny swap attempt that Jessica has been leading against me, which I already exposed in quite some detail, along with some kind of destiny swap going on with Pisces and Aquarius energy. I believe the Pisces energy originates from Kristen Aslan, who Celine has fully, knowingly, intentionally, almost maliciously, entirely at my expense, entirely against my consent, somehow enabled and facilitated attempting to destiny swap with me, because Celine wanted access to the Aquarius energy. I believe the Aquarius energy originates from Mary Aslan and is attempting some kind of destiny swap with anyone I'd ever actually want as a girlfriend. So currently and for the rest of eternity, that being Kimmy and Celine. I believe Mary's reasoning is she's an extremely creepy, pervert pedophile that has tried to groom me since childhood, and she probably knew she wanted to before I was even born, to lose my bareback vaginal intercourse virginity to her and ultimately date her spiritually and likely also physically for the rest of my life. She's trying to retain this extremely abusive control over my energy, entirely at my expense, entirely against my consent, by trying to extremely egregiously exploit my true absolute lack of any desire and or willingness to ever literally have children in the physical with anyone for any reason, along with my lower than average general desire for any kind of vaginal intercourse with anyone for any reason, to completely falsely misrepresent me as secretly romantically and or sexually attracted to men, entirely at my expense, entirely against my consent. I believe Mary is heavily relevant to the energy trying to leave me extremely, brutally, sexually frustrated and sexually deprived. It likely has to do with some kind of finances. She's somehow exploited my energy to steal from me and or otherwise obtain wrongly, entirely at my expense, entirely against my consent. It's also possible she's physically, sexually violated me as a very young child before I even was capable of forming memories, and it's simply been kept secret from me because that whole family has multiple pedophiles and generally extremely scummy pieces of shit in it. Anyways, it remains that neither Kimmy nor Celine have contacted me directly in the physical through any means. At least not that I can see, and I wouldn't lie about this. I have no good reason to. I check my official contact email, my TikTok, my Instagram, and my Twitter daily. Nothing. So I still consider them to be the largest part of the problem as far as contributing factors to me currently remaining in extremely life-threatening deprivation. Especially Celine. It's now been 3 times recently, once per week, where I've had some kind of food item left around my stuff while I was not around. The first time, it was a mostly uneaten pizza, October 10th, a Friday. The second time, it was a pack of 2 Oreo cakesters, October 18th, a Saturday. This most recent time, it was a McDonald's cheeseburger, October 24th, a Friday. The first 2 times, it was more obvious. The most recent time, they tried to sneakily put it at the back where I wouldn't have seen it unless I more carefully looked around everything. I don't know who left them there. I don't know why they chose the food they chose to place. I don't know why they chose the locations they chose to place it at. I never expected any of it to happen, and I was never given any warnings any of it would. I do not at all appreciate any of it happening, and I never will, at all. I feel it's some kind of curse attempting to justify getting me murdered and or driving me insane, to try to silence me, to finalize the destiny swap Celine's attempting. and attempt to justify some kind of parallel narrative about the reality of my existence, one that I'm being framed for ever having at all consented to the existence of, entirely at my expense, entirely against my consent. I feel extremely confident in my intuitive spiritual interpretation that it was intended to fully, knowingly, intentionally, almost maliciously attempt to validate an exceedingly, extremely false narrative about me in an attempt to justify promptly getting me murdered in the physical and likely attempt to somehow frame it as an accident, mainly to benefit Celine and probably also Kimmy. Like, I genuinely believe in the depths of my soul that the only reason I'm still alive today is because I both spoke up publicly about those extremely cursed items being placed around my stuff as if it's some kind of gift I asked for and or deserve, as well as that I sincerely have been fully authentic in following through with placing them on the trash bin every time and absolutely refusing to even eat so much as the smallest crumb of any of them. The way I see it, whoever is terrorizing me by placing these objects around my stuff would never be doing this kind of thing at all unless they were literally in extremely life-threatening danger of their entire life falling apart and them probably getting promptly murdered if they didn't do it. It's definitely not at all a genuine gesture of kindness or any kind of gift. It's literally absolutely unconditional, unrestrained, malicious intent towards me from the sender. That's why I never even messed with the idea of actually accepting any of the things. They are an extremely narcissistic, massive psychopath. Whatever energy placed those items around my stuff is definitely trying to curse me to stay forever perpetually stuck in cycles of an extremely deprived, miserable life that they know I don't at all want or deserve. They're extremely aggressively eager for me to promptly get murdered in the physical as they hope they aren't seen as being at all truly responsible for it. Based on the pattern of when the items have shown up, I can conclude it's likely this energy will attempt to leave something again this Friday or Saturday, maybe Sunday. Even though I've extremely obviously publicly rejected whatever they've tried to give me every time, and there's video proof of me leaving it on top of the trash bin without eating any of it at all. I plan to closely monitor my things from a bit of a distance all day long this coming Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If anyone shows up trying to leave anything on or around my stuff, I'm going to do something about it immediately. If it's someone I don't recognize as anyone from my past, I'll rush up to them, likely recording them with my phone, and inform them that whoever sent them must have a death wish because they're trying to get me murdered and it's going to backfire. I'll demand they take the item away and inform them that they risk getting murdered in the near future themselves if they refuse. I'll possibly post the video on here in that case as well. If it's someone I recognize as someone from my past, I'm going to grab a weapon and rush to brutally murder them on the spot. No talking, no negotiation, no hesitation. I will literally fucking brutally murder them in the physical without thinking twice. I won't care even if it's broad daylight and there are multiple cameras and people watching. At that point, as far as I'm concerned, they're just not going to stop until one of us is physically deceased. I'm most certainly not trying to wait around for it to be me. Beyond Kristen, I see reason to suspect there's at least one other Pisces energy, or at the very least someone masking as a Pisces, who might have faked a pregnancy entirely, or perhaps gotten pregnant with someone else's child, who is trying to force me to take responsibility for that pregnancy or supposed pregnancy somehow. It's highly unlikely, but I suppose it's technically possible they somehow got their hands on my semen and stuck it inside themselves and got pregnant from it. But they must have done some seriously illegal shit in that case. Illegal both spiritually and physically. I do not take responsibility at all for any literal pregnancy in the physical, and I have absolutely no desire and or willingness to ever at all do so, entirely regardless of whether or not my genetics are involved. Like I've said before, I've literally never had bareback vaginal intercourse with anyone, and no condom I've ever used in the limited times I've had protected vaginal intercourse have ever torn or broken. There's absolutely no reason why anyone should ever be pregnant with a child containing my genetics. The longer I'm left without direct communication in the physical from Kimmy and or Celine, the worse it looks for both of them. I'm seriously not trying to wait endlessly and give chances to them as if I owe it to them when I in reality don't, or clarify to the point of obsessively over-explaining myself as if I'm generally being dishonest about something I feel the need to hide. But I also recognize that there's really no going back from it if I formally file a lawsuit in the physical against them. Like, if they're not even willing to communicate in the physical with me properly at all until I sue them, and then they suddenly talk to me and or others suddenly start talking to me, even if Kimmy and or Celine offer to date me, it's seriously just doomed absolutely unconditionally. And I'm fully aware of that. Backing off from the lawsuit at that point just leaves me open to a counter lawsuit from them and possibly even criminal charges for what would seem like me always having been trying to manipulate the legal system to basically coerce or blackmail or somehow force one or both of them to date me against their will, which has never been what I've been trying to do. And even without those considerations, just in general, my life would certainly be left in a state where no matter what them or anyone else ever has to say, I'd be infinitely worse off in every possible aspect if I was ever settling or just dropping it, versus fighting it as brutally and viciously as possible to the very bitter end to expose as much as possible and harm as many people as possible in the process, which I also have never found to be a preferable outcome to me. I also haven't been trying to get them and or anyone else killed, let them and or anyone else fake anyone's death, nor let them and or anyone else enter witness protection of any kind, neither together nor with others, even if them and or anyone else have ever wanted to do any of those things with me. These days, every time Kimmy streams, I tend to feel especially in danger of getting harmed or even killed in the physical somehow, as if I just deserved it and did it to myself somehow, when in reality, Celine's refined, indirect, complex destiny swap attempt on me that she's been doing entirely at my expense, entirely against my consent, would be the reality behind why it happened, if it did. I want it known that I currently see absolutely no adequate reason to believe Kimmy and or Celine have any real desire and or intent to ever reach out to me and directly communicate with me in the physical. And if that's really how things are going to be, I seriously have every intention to file a formal lawsuit in the physical against Kimmy and Jamie and ultimately several of their associates, which I absolutely unconditionally would never agree to settle for any amount nor drop for any reason after it's initiated. I have absolutely no desire and or intent to suddenly disappear and or at all pivot from my position. I'll keep monitoring my energy and see how things feel for a little while longer before jumping to actually start looking for attorneys seriously and seriously pursuing filing the lawsuit in the physical. But I can't see much reason anymore why I'd feel convinced I should delay it much longer for any reason, unless Kimmy and or Celine are going to directly reach out to me and directly contact me in the physical.